And opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse.
Good morning and welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go on the world's greatest radio. You are in touch with the compensatory concept. And I'm your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is Radio the Way It Should Be Heard. We're going to be speaking with Mr. Neely Fuller, who is online live from Washington, D.C. And if you would like to get in contact with the show, you can by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, at gmail.com, and I will attempt to get your Gmail on read. It will not be today, but I will, or they will put it in the files for next up. Good news on the donation front. We are now there, so we don't have to do it no more for this year, and so we would like to thank you for your support for the second hour of the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. We thank you for that. Mr. Fuller, as you well know, some are being introduced to the show for the first time, is the author of the book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. And all it is simply a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, which is white supremacy. He wrote that book, and he will be discussing that and more as we go on. Our subject today is the sixth area of people activity called politics, and in particular in those politics we're going to be discussing, or have Mr. Fuller discuss concepts. Mr. Fuller, we'd like to say good morning, and how are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
Okay, you are still learning. Here we're having a little trouble hearing you, but we will go on. Let's see here. Are we going to take this phone call right now, or what? We can? Okay. Before we get started with the show, somebody's ringing, so we're going to take the phone call. Okay. Line number one, you're calling early, but go ahead. What is your question for Mr. Fuller? Go ahead. You're on.
The question that I asked before, I didn't really
understand. Okay, could you start over because we couldn't hear you? Go ahead now.
I didn't understand the response to my question last week. Mr. Fuller, you had said that there is no logical reason for white people to be extinct, and you also said that no people should be extinct. And I had two questions quickly. By white people, are you referring to the albino and albinoid members of the albino colony coming out of Europe after the last ice age? And then the other question is it inevitable, meaning going to happen without our permission or our intervention, that the number of albino and albinoid members of the albino colony will eventually be statistically insignificant, meaning genetically annihilated or extinct?
Mr. Fuller?
Well, if I understand the question, I still reiterate. Yes, I hear echo. Can everybody hear me clearly?
There is an echo. I hear that also. But continue, Mr. Fuller.
Okay. No people should be extinct. No creature should be extinct and caused to be extinct by the people who own the planet. Presumably the people who own the planet, this planet called Earth. planet called the planet Earth is very, very supportive of the people who are on this planet. I mean, the air that we breathe, the food that we eat, the general environment, the climates and all like that is very, very supportive of the people who have been put here by whatever force put us here. Some people by whatever name, God, all power, the Great Spirit, etc. Whatever put people, these creatures that we call people, ourselves, we are in an environment that is very supportive of our being here. So there's reason to believe that all of the other creatures that have been put here, including different types of insects and butterflies and bees and birds, are all here because whatever created the earth also put creatures on this earth that are supported by the environment, the things that are around us that help support us being here. Otherwise, we couldn't stay here. We would have been extinct or not even being here in the first place. You don't have creatures similar to us, say, for an example, on the sun. The sun is too hot. It's much too hot for any of the creatures that are here on Earth to be able to move around on the sun like we move around on what we call the planet Earth. So therefore, it's logical to assume that any creatures, including what the person was saying, so-called albino people, or some people might call them white people and whatnot, or what they call themselves, or people by any name. People, whatever we call people, should be here if they are here. And they should be supported in being here. All people should be supported. Nobody should take the initiative to make any other people extinct, and do all that they can to retain the people that are here as long as we can, and try to make the environment constructively conducive for their sustaining themselves and being here in harmony and interacting with each other in a constructive manner. And that includes all creatures, including people and animals and insects and whatnot, all in a correct balance with each other. Now, we have seen plenty of evidence that nothing is in balance when it comes to the creatures of this planet in their interactions with each other, but they can be put into balance. And that should be the assumption. Why? Because whatever created the people here created enough here on this planet Earth to sustain these creatures and keep them in balance one with the other, according to most evidence. And that we should try to, our assignment should be to try to be in harmony, quote unquote, one with another. That should be the goal, in a constructive manner. Everything constructive, nothing non-constructive, no non-constructive activity, particularly this habit that we have as people of killing each other. That's a habit that we have, under the system of racism, has been glorified more than any other system. I don't say that the racists started this idea of people killing people, but they have certainly glorified it. They write books about it, have every people read books about it, and they think that this is a neat way to go about conducting business on the planet, which it isn't. They believe in hunting for fun. Now, we might have gotten into a terrible situation on account of our misdeeds, where people had to hunt down animals and kill them because they didn't have enough vegetation. That's how that could have evolved. I don't really know. That people start eating meat. At one time, probably people didn't eat meat at all. You know, that's creatures eating creatures. People didn't eat squirrels and rabbits and horses and cows like we do. But we probably were reduced to that simply because we didn't have enough vegetation, and we didn't have enough vegetation on account of our conduct, misconduct, or doing things we shouldn't have done. That's a reasonable assumption. I don't really know for sure, but it seems like that's logical. And that animals start feeding off of each other. Lions start chasing antelopes and whatnot. But the basic point that I'm making in answer to the question is that all creatures have a duty to try to exist in a constructive manner. Why? Because we've been given plenty of wonderful things: hands, feet, eyes, ears, nerves, to do the things that should be done. And we have grossly misused all of these wonderful gifts that we have been given. That's according to the evidence.
Okay, and what was the second part of that question, sir?
Oh, yes. Is it inevitable, meaning going to happen without our permission or intervention, that the number of albino and albinoid members of the albino colony will eventually be statistically insignificant, meaning genetically annihilated or extinct?
Mr. Fuller?
Well, should they be here or shouldn't they? Is that what you're saying?
No, sir. I'm saying given their genetic makeup.
Due to their genetic makeup, that will disappear on their own?
Yes, sir. That's what I'm saying.
Well, all people disappear. I'm going to disappear. All people disappear at some time. We don't come here and stay here forever. So some species, regardless of how long they stay here or how long, on account of their genetic makeup and whatnot, among the insects and the birds, the average bird does not stay here as long as the average person. Why? Because of the from what I've heard, the genetic makeup of birds. The average person stays here longer than the average dog, you might say. Different species of dogs. Some dogs, probably because of their genetic makeup, stay here longer than other species of dogs. But regardless of the creature's genetic makeup, while the person or the creature is here, birds, people, what you call albinos, what you call black people, what you call anything, they are here. So you do whatever it takes to try to keep them here as long as you possibly can, and have them interact with everything in correct balance, in harmony, rather than what we have now in this perpetual disharmony. Perpetual conflict is what we have everywhere. And some species, like people, have gotten in the habit of glorifying this conflict, of thinking that it's cute to always be fighting, always be cursing, always be at each other's throats, like this is some type of wonderful thing. And we take it for granted that it should be that way because we've been doing it for so long. But as universal men and universal women, which is what we should be trying to do, all people getting in tune with the universe and all of the constructive elements of the universe, so that we can have a correct balance between everything, all people, all creatures, all birds, flowers, trees, water, everything in correct balance. That's what we should be aiming for. And we've been given everything to do it with, presumably. And that should be our goal, regardless of the genetic makeup. It should be harmony, not finding something to destroy, finding some other creature, going looking for creatures like the white supremacists teach people to do, just looking for something to destroy, and sometimes finding something that is already weak and building it up so that you can destroy it. That's a form of insanity. And none of us should embrace that type of activity. We should get away from it forever.
Okay. Talktainment Radio, and by the way, thank you, brother, for your call. Talktainmentradio.com is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here are several shows that I'd like to share with you. Number 1 is At the Table. Number 2 will be Wiggins World. And number 3, The Voice of Deliverance. Now, all you have to do is go to talktainmentradio.com, click on programs for the scheduled times, and then you'll find other additional information concerning the programs that you would like to listen to. All that is from talktainmentradio.com. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our topic today is politics, and in particular, we're going to focus in on concepts. If you notice, the title of Mr. Fuller's book is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. And I don't know if you've really taken a look at that to find out what that really means. We're going to ask Mr. Fuller that, but today's program is going to start off on page 193 of the revised, expanded edition of the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. Now, if you don't have the book, I'll have Mr. Fuller speak about the book in a few moments, but for those of you who have the book, we're going to start on that page here. At the top, it says this, Mr. Fuller: during the existence of white supremacy, racism, instead of using titles or names of so-called nations other than the race nation and or the white nation, use the titles or names of social, material, and or spiritual organizational concepts. Then you put examples. Instead of saying America, say America concept. Instead of saying I was in Africa, say I was in the Africa concept. Instead of saying I left China, say I left the China concept. And number 4, you said instead of saying I am going to England and then to Southeast Asia this summer, say I'm going to the England concept and then to the Southeast Asia concept this summer. So I wanted to know, when I looked at the word concept, what did you mean? When I looked at the definition of concept, it says an abstract idea, a general notion, a plan or intention, a conception. The center has kept firmly to its original concept, an idea or invention to help sell or publicize a commodity. So concept, what did you mean by that, in particular when we're focusing in on politics, and then concept in this system of racism, white supremacy?
Because these places, or so-called places, or people, really, you might say, do not have concise, limited definitions. The definitions blend into each other. If you're talking about any people on the planet, say if I go to a place called England, and you say, well, I'm in England now, so the people are different. Different how? Sure, they are different. I mean, depending on what person you're talking to, every person is different. There isn't a person on this planet that's exactly like another person. And that includes twins and triplets and quadruplets. They're not the same. Some of us know people who are twins. They look a lot alike, but they are not exactly the same. And we know that they are not exactly the same because of what? Because it's two. Twins are two. You're looking at one and you're looking at another. They're not absolutely the same because there's two of them. You say, well, they look exactly alike to me, you know. And maybe to somebody else who is standing next to you say, well, they don't look exactly alike to me.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell the difference between them. All right? And but regardless of how they look to someone else, they're still not the same. So if I'm in England and I say, well, these are English people, so they are different. Different how? And how are they similar? You say, first of all, they are people. Okay, so that's a big similarity right there. Okay, people do a lot of things that are similar to each other. They eat, they sleep, and you say, well, yeah, people do that. I mean, you know, and we take that for granted and whatnot. Well, I mean, why do you take that for granted? Well, because insects sleep and eat and whatnot. Okay, well, there's a lot of similarities between people and insects.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So these are all concepts that people have in their minds of, well, you know, I'm in France. So what does that actually mean? Do French people drink water? You say, well, people in Nova Scotia drink water.
Mm-hmm.
People in New Hampshire drink water. People in Alabama drink water. People in China drink water. Say, yeah, but, you know, these are Chinese waters. What do you mean Chinese waters? I mean, it's water. You know, water goes everywhere.
Yes.
Say, yeah, but we're not in Indonesian waters now. You know, we are now entering Chinese waters. This is the South China Sea. This is the English Channel. This is the Sea of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean? You know, the water doesn't know anything about this at all. So these are what? Concepts in the minds of people. You have that in your mind. I mean, you know, you put that there. I mean, so-called these borders and whatnot.
Yes, sir.
Well, things kind of blend into each other.
Yes, sir.
All things. So that's why I call them concepts.
Okay. All right. With that being said, on page 193, in the middle, during the second stanza under explanations, could you pick up where it says during the existence of white supremacy and according to compensatory counter-racist logic, the words African? Could you read that little sentence with explanation, please?
Yes. During the existence of white supremacy, which is really the strongest and most significant so-called government on the planet called Earth, during the existence of white supremacy and according to compensatory counter-racist logic,
Mm-hmm.
the words African, Asian, and American are concepts that have the same definition as the people who practice justice. In other words, the words African, Asian, and American are concepts, something in people's minds. That's what a concept is,
Mm-hmm.
that have the same definition as the people who practice justice. In other words, anybody who practices justice is an African, is an Asian, and is an American. One person is all three of those things.
Okay.
If you practice justice. Now, continuing on, the word justice means balance between people, which means also guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person who needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Now, let's look at this word justice. It means that you got to guarantee that no person is mistreated. And you got to guarantee that the person who needs help the most gets the most constructive help.
Why?
Because if you're going to have justice, that's what you have to have. You have to guarantee that nobody's being mistreated. You can't have justice and a person is being mistreated. That's not justice. And you can't have justice if a person is not getting the most constructive help that that person needs. Because you don't have balance now between people. That throws people out of balance when you don't have justice. And you don't have justice anywhere on this planet we call Earth. Therefore, since we're talking about concepts, you don't have any people who are Africans. You don't have any people on this planet who are Asians. And you don't have any people on this planet who are what? Americans. What you call the 3 A's. African, Asian, Americans. They don't exist. Why? Because Africans and Asians and Americans are people who practice justice. And since justice does not exist anywhere on the planet, these people don't exist. So what do you have if you don't have Africans, Asians, and Americans? Nowhere on the planet.
Okay.
I mean, what are these people that are walking around here? What kind of label do you put on them that's accurate, that's correct, that's telling the truth? You have white people, you have non-white people, and you have white supremacists. These are the 3 categories of people on the planet Earth. There are no other categories. White supremacists, non-white people, and white people who are not white supremacists, but the not white supremacists in parentheses, because you have to have white people in order to have white supremacists. So these are the major categories of people, not Africans, not Asians, and not Americans, because these categories of people, the 3 A's, are people that practice justice, and nobody can practice justice in a system of white supremacy.
Okay.
That's impossible. That's the logic.
At the bottom of the page, could you read "at every constructive opportunity"? That's important.
At every constructive opportunity, always say that every person in the known universe should try to become an African, an Asian, or an American. Or all 3, since all 3 mean the same thing. Otherwise, they don't mean anything. All right? If they don't mean people that practice justice, there's no point in being an African, an Asian, or an American. If you are a mistreater, that's your label. You mistreat people.
Yes.
And, African, American, and Asian, those 3 words mean nothing. They mean 0 if you mistreat people.
Okay.
Because if you mistreat people, what you are is a person that mistreats people. And you're not an African, you're not an Asian, and you're not an American. You're not neither one of those 3 if you mistreat people. You are just a person that mistreats people. That's your label. You don't have any other label worth mentioning. Okay? And that's what that means.
Okay. All righty, let's do this. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our topic today, we're still in the 6th area of people, activity, politics, but we focused in on the word concept. You can call in if you'd like to by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, MrBobby@gmail.com, and we'll put it in rotation and go from there. Before we go on, Mr. Fuller, since you live in the Washington, D.C. area, do you know anything about this report about a gunman has opened fire at a GOP baseball practice in Alexandria, Virginia? 5 people were wounded, including House Majority Whip Steve Scalise and 2 other Capitol Police officers. Do you know anything about that, or have you updated any information on that?
I turned on television maybe about 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes or so, and then I turned it off because I had to go on the air.
Yeah,
but I did hear something about that there had been a shooting, and they said that other information was pending, and I didn't hear any more since then.
Okay. All righty. Let's do this. Okay, let's go to the Gmails here. This comes from Dr. Lawson, and he says this. Hello, Mr. Fuller. What do you suggest for those in greater confinement falsely? Why, during the existence of the system of racism, white supremacy, non-white people have been placed in greater confinement by either a corrupt legal system or suspected racist white supremacist jurors?
And what should a person do while they're there?
What does he suggest for those in greater to do, since they are in there falsely, greater confinement falsely? What are we to do during when you're placed in that system?
Oh, that's why I always refer to this movie. I mean, I wear it out sometimes, I guess, Shawshank Redemption. And what we should do is what the main character in the movie was doing. Character played by, I forget the person.
I know you're talking about
Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins,
Tim Robbins played the character called Andy Dufresne. And immediately after he got in there, in prison, he did what? He started studying things. Now, this is an excellent time to study, because if you're looking forward to getting out, and everybody who is in prison, and we are all in prison, greater confinement in the system of racism, everybody of color on the planet is in a greater prison, we call, we're prisoners of war, and there's a thing called greater confinement, and that's when we're actually put behind bars and put into a little box called a cell and whatnot. So what do you do with that time? Okay? Time is precious. So you try to use that time. Use that time doing what? Doing something that you probably never had a chance to really do because you were just so busy trying to survive when you're outside of the prison walls, outside of that little box called a cell. So now you have, if you can, try to do what Andy Dufresne did. Andy Dufresne said, I want to get access to books. That's why he started a library in the prison, in Shawshank prison, you know, because books do what? They bring in information that's on the outside of where you are. And this is what you do when you actually go to any school. You just bring in information that you don't have access to. That's what libraries are for. That's what schools are for. That's what the universe is for, really. That's why it's, you know, some places behind, you know, 4 walls, we might say, with a floor and a ceiling and with some books are called what? Universities.
Universities, yes, sir.
Meaning you are bringing in information from all over the entire universe and consolidating it in just one place where you have quick access to it, and then ultimately that one place is going to be your brain, because your brain is empty when you come into the world. It doesn't have anything in it. You're supposed to be putting things in it. But unfortunately, in the system of white supremacy, the white supremacists pour stuff into black people's brains that's not going to help them.
Okay.
All right? So what you want to do is, if I was in a cell right now, in what the code calls greater confinement, meaning in that little thing that we call a prison cell, and I had access to reading, I would do what Malcolm X did and what the character Baines did in the movie Malcolm X.
Malcolm X, yes.
Yes. They studied what? They studied a dictionary. Just get the biggest dictionary that they'll let you have and start in the English language or in any language. If you're, you know, if you speak French and you're in a place where you're in a French jail and you're in what they call the French society and you're a person of color, then get access to whatever the language is.
Okay.
Because a lot of things that you need to know come from the use of language. This is probably how you wound up in jail. People, you said you had to get a lawyer. What was that lawyer doing? Using language. The lawyer was talking. All right? I mean, you probably didn't even understand what was being said or what was going to happen to you. but you listen to people pass words back and forth to each other.
Okay.
It's what they call a court of law.
Yes, sir. The study of words. Okay.
Study of words.
Yes, sir. Okay. Let's go to the phone lines. Line number, what, 1? Okay, thank you, Galen. Line number 1, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Would you please, good morning, Mr. Fuller. Would you please spell Shawshank Redemption?
Mr. Fuller?
Yes. S-H-A-W. S-H-A-W. Shaw. Shank. S-H-A-N-K. Shaw Shank.
No,
and then Redemption. R-E-D-E-M-P-T-I-O-N. Shawshank Redemption. And you can just look up the word redemption. I mean, if you have a problem with it, if you've got a dictionary handy, you can probably pick up the title of the movie and the movie itself just by going to the computer.
Oh.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
You can just probably, if you're looking for a movie called The Shawshank Redemption, it comes on television quite frequently. It's probably on some television right now somewhere in some city.
Yeah, along with
so
Casablanca.
It shows very frequently.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All righty.
Yes, I have something else I wanted to say. The dictionary, you were saying, the dictionary, and I recommend to you and any other people the American Heritage Dictionary rather than the regular standard dictionary that usually people use, the Webster, because the American Heritage Dictionary, in the rear of it, it has what is called the Indo-European roots, and this is an addition to the dictionary, and it's sort of like your word guide that you have for the code. And in the Indo-European roots, it tells you a lot about where the origin of the words that are in the dictionary. And other dictionaries, they don't have the Indo-European roots.
You say that's the American Heritage Dictionary?
The American Heritage Dictionary.
Okay. All right.
The unabridged.
Okay.
The unabridged version of it.
All righty.
It has that.
Okay. Thank you so much for your call and for that information. And speaking about that, Mr. Fuller, many do not have your book, and many do have your book. Speak about your book for a few moments, please.
Yes. The book is called The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. See, now here again, I'm using that word myself.
Yes.
Concept. Meaning it's just an idea. And it's a compensatory counter-racist code. Now, let's just talk about the use of words for a minute. When sometimes a person, hypothetically, might ask me, Mr. Fuller, do you believe in counter-racism, meaning being against racism? And I could say, well, I'm trying to prove that I believe in it by being a counter-racist. But if I'm asked the question, are you a counter-racist, the answer specifically would be no. See, I'm talking about the use of words now, being exact in the words that you use, always being surgically exact. Why is it that Neely Fuller is not a counter-racist, even though he talks about counter-racism all the time? But if a person says, oh, yes, Neely Fuller, he's that guy he identifies himself as a counter-racist. No, I don't. Why? Because I haven't countered racism. That's why I'm talking about countering racism. That's not the same thing, because racism still exists. If I was countering racism, we wouldn't have this thing called white supremacy.
Yes, sir.
So I'm trying to get in position, or I'm trying to find my way along the way where I have actually countered racism. So you haven't actually done something unless you have done something that you are trying to do.
Yes, sir.
You're not a carpenter unless you're doing carpenter's work. If you're just standing around talking about being a carpenter, that's not the same thing as actually being a carpenter. You actually have to do the work of a carpenter. So saying that you would like to be a carpenter, that's one thing. Being a carpenter, that's something else. So my whole idea is I have a concept of how to counter racism. That's why I don't argue with people when they say, Fuller, you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, you know, you got this crazy idea of approaching it this way and that way and whatnot, and it doesn't make sense, and I don't agree with it. Well, see, I always accept that, and then I listen to the person who is talking and say, okay, do you have a suggestion? And why? Because it's logical. Because nobody has replaced the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. That hasn't been done. So anything that anybody says may be valid about how to go about doing it. That's why I don't have an argument against anyone else who disagrees with me. I am duty-bound to embrace all of the disagreements and all of the different viewpoints, because somebody, somewhere, may have the solution instantly, and that's what I'm looking for.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Okay,
and so you can get the book by going to producejustice.com. Producejustice.com.
Okay, now, can you get the book in Canada or England, South America, or South Africa?
Not right now, and we've been working on it, and then it got all confused and whatnot. The process got confused. Here again, that important word, confusion, and so they had to kind of start back from scratch, doing a few other things. Now, right now, I think it's still available in Canada.
Okay.
But it's not available in the UK, meaning England, which was the next place we were trying to do it, and also spread over the European area, and then indirectly, probably, eventually, be able to get it in places like India, Africa, the China concept, whatever, spread all over the world. But right now, you can just get it in what they call the Northwestern Hemisphere.
Okay.
Which includes the so-called United States and Canada.
Yeah, those concepts.
Right.
Okay.
Those concepts.
Okay.
Those are concepts.
Yes,
they don't really exist.
Okay. All right. Again, this is TalkTameAtRadio.com. This is the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and you can download the TalkTameAtRadio.com to your app or to your cell or tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. I'm your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and we're speaking with Mr. Neely Fuller on the topic of politics, which is the sixth area of people activity, and in particular, we're defining, or Mr. Fuller is defining concept, the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. So we're focusing in on that. 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, MrBobby@gmail.com. I don't know if I'll get to read it to you. But speaking about Gmails, here's one right here from Race Rules. He says this, Mr. Fuller, rankism is the real problem, and it only happens through separation from God that whites demonstrate on a daily basis. Racism is just skin rankism. Let me pause here so I can get what this person was saying. Rankism, by definition, is an assertion of superiority. It typically takes the form of putting down others. It's what somebodies do to nobodies, or more precisely, it is what people who think they're somebodies do to people they take for nobodies. He continues, whites invented racism because they are inferior and they know it. They just fooled us into thinking we are instead of them. Why else would they need to an advantage over others if they were not deficient in every way? They have no culture whatsoever that isn't stolen from others and renamed. The inferiority is their own undoing because it leads to paranoia, perversion, disease, death, and bad karma. As long as whites exist, racism will never disappear because it is all they know. It is what they are. When they all die out, as it well underway from their negative birth rates, then the problem will begin to be solved. But then we will have to confront the light-skinned supremacy of all races, who will see the demise of whites as the rite of passage for them to assume the role of dominance. White supremacy is a cancer that spreads to people of all colors. This comes from Race Rules. Mr. Fuller, comment?
Well, that comes under VGQ, Victims Guaranteed Qualification. Whoever made those statements is qualified, if they are victims of racism, to make those statements as their view of what racism, white supremacy, and whiteness is all about.
Okay.
That doesn't say that, that everybody can agree with it or disagree with it, but everybody should listen to it and see if it's valid. Because
Okay.
we're searching for one thing here in order to get that product called peace. And that is what? You have to, first of all, find the truth. The things that were just said, it's just one question here. Are those things true? You start with that. Now, whether they're true or false, I don't know. I don't know. I've heard people say these things. I say I don't know. And I say that we can find out by searching for the truth and keep searching for the truth, because if you don't have the truth, you got this one thing that the white supremacists really are very comfortable with, and that is you have falsehood.
Yes.
And so we should be seeking truth, not to make ourselves feel good, because the truth may not make us feel good, okay? The truth about a lot of things, just in our daily comings and goings, does not make you feel good, so we shouldn't get on a feel-good kick. Just, saying that I'll say anything or do anything that will make me feel good. No. You should look for the truth and try to find out a way to do the things that all creatures are supposed to be doing, and that is get in balance with one another, because they were given gifts to do it with.
Okay.
The fact that they exist means that's a gift.
Alrighty.
We don't know where these gifts come from except whatever created gifts. So we should appreciate anything that we're looking at until we find out that what we're looking at should not exist. And that is a very, very slippery slope.
Yes, sir.
To go down.
No, sir.
When we are not creators, we only arrange what is already here. Every now and then you'll hear somebody say, well, this is Mr. Jones, one of Mr. Jones' creations. No, Mr. Jones, Miss Agnes, or whomever, did not create anything.
Mm-hmm.
People don't create anything.
Okay.
No creatures create anything, even though that we are called creations. We are created, and then we arrange things that are already here. You don't create anything.
Mm-hmm.
You don't make something out of nothing. No person I've ever heard of has ever done that. You have something to make something out of, which means something created that something.
Okay.
Because something created you.
Yes, sir.
You didn't have anything to do with it.
Okay. All right. Question from Dr. Johnson. He says this, Mr. Fuller, it's two questions. He says, what do you do when you're in a, quote, leadership position and you must administer, quote, punishment, end of quote? How can justice be promoted when you have to potentially mistreat someone due to that person's wrongdoings? And the second question, the Nation of Islam has a code for understanding, and yet the usual suspects found it a way to infiltrate and disrupt their, quote, progress, end of quote. Where did they go wrong? And what do non-white people have to be on alert for to not fall into the same situations as the Nation of Islam once we all have a code of conduct?
Well, specifically, I'll start with the word religion. The system of white supremacy is the strongest and most powerful religion that the world has ever experienced. According to what? Neely Fuller? No, according to evidence. What is a religion? A religion is a strong belief backed up by action. So the people who believe in white supremacy don't cut corners on their religion. They are dedicated totally 24/7 to practicing their religion. They don't deviate from their religion. Not for 5 minutes, not for 2 seconds. And this is why they have the most successful religion out of all the religions put together that has ever been in the minds of people, because religion starts with the mind and the spirit. Mind plus spirit. And then you get out of that, you'll get some type of religion, which is nothing but a way of doing things based on what you believe. And the white supremacists are more efficient at doing things based on what they believe than all of the other people who have a religion combined. None of the other religions have matched the religion of white supremacy.
Okay.
So therefore, it just comes down to whatever your religion is, you have to examine your religion, find out what the real essence of it is, and practice it. Because a religion is supposed to be designed to solve your problems. If your religion is not solving problems, unless your religion is not designed to solve problems, and everybody knows what you have a religion for, but presumably most religions, which means something that people adopt, has to do with problem solving. So if your religion is not solving your problems, you need to examine either yourself or your religion, because maybe you're not practicing your religion and just pretending that you are. And that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people actually say that. They'll say that they have something that they don't have. I've heard people actually say, I'm a Catholic, but I don't practice it. Well, that's just like saying you're a carpenter, but you don't do woodwork. I mean, that's a contradiction.
Yes, sir.
And many people are very comfortable with doing that and going around saying that. And that is really not constructive. Because, first of all, it's not telling the truth. You don't have a religion that you don't practice. If you don't practice your religion all the way, 24/7, because all religions have rules that you have to adhere to, and if you start cutting corners on your religion, it's all downhill. You don't have that religion anymore.
Right.
The white supremacists are the only people I know of who practice their religion all the way.
All the way.
They never turn loose to it.
Okay.
Not for 5 minutes.
TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, the way it should be heard. Stay tuned for the second hour of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You got the power. The world's greatest radio. TalkTainmentRadio.com. Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. TalkTainmentRadio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Alrighty, TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go on the world's greatest radio. You are now in touch with the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is Radio the Way It Should Be Heard. Our topic today is the sixth area of people activity called politics, and in particular, we're focusing on concept. And Mr. Fuller in the first hour gave a more descriptive explanation about concept and what that means, such as the American concept, the Asian concept, the African concept. He went on to explain that. So that was in the first hour, and we will hit on that again. You can call in by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby at gmail.com. Before we take the call, Mr. Fuller, we have to answer that first question where Dr. Johnson wrote, what do you do when you're in a leadership position and you must administer punishment? How can justice be promoted when you have to potentially mistreat someone due to that person's wrongdoing in the system of racism, white supremacy?
I hear a lot of background noise, so I don't know what that is.
Okay. See if we can.
I hear a whole lot of it.
Oh, okay. Not on. Okay, we don't hear it on this end. But did you hear the question though?
Yeah. Now I can hear it.
Okay.
I can hear you clearly.
Okay. Good.
Right.
The question again was, what do you do when you're in a leadership position and you must administer punishment? How can justice be promoted when you have to potentially mistreat someone due to that person's wrongdoings in this system of racism, white supremacy?
And you're a victim of racism yourself?
Yes.
Oh, that's a requirement. I mean, all black people, we are prisoners of war. Look at it like that. We're already prisoners. We're already in captivity. So when you're in captivity, the prison master will come, just like you have seen depicted in some stories and some movies and whatnot. One slave will be assigned to do what? To take a whip and beat another slave. One prisoner of war may be assigned to go to the prisoner and make bed check, you might say. Make sure that all the other prisoners are where they are supposed to be. And if they are not there, report that they are not there. While you're a prisoner yourself, you have no power. So this thing about black leaders, there's no such thing as a black leader in a system of white supremacy. They are black spokespersons. All of the leaders of the black people of the planet Earth are white supremacists. All of them, or at least white people. Not all white people are white supremacists, but the actual leaders of the non-white people of the planet Earth right this minute in 2017 are all of the leaders of the non-white people are white supremacists. These are the only leaders we have. There's no such thing as a black leader in a system of white supremacy. What we call a black leader is a black person who speaks. He or she is a spokesperson. Like in a prison, you can have one prisoner speaking in behalf of the other prisoners. But that one person who is doing the speaking is a prisoner him or herself. They're not outside of the system of racism. So they are subject to all of the laws of the races, just like the rest of the prisoners. But you can go to the warden's office and say, Warden, I'd like to speak for the rest of the prisoners in cell block 3, because they have told me to come up and talk to you about they need more food. down in cell block 3. Now, that's not a leader. That's just a spokesperson. Why? Because a leader is outside of the system. A leader is not subject to anybody. And so it's the white supremacists who are not subject to anybody on this planet. They're certainly not subject to any non-white people, period. Any people classified as black, brown, red, or yellow, or tan, or beige, any people of color, white supremacists are not subject to them. White supremacists just answer to other white supremacists. They don't have to answer to anybody else. But black people have to answer to the white supremacists. I don't care who they are or what their title is. They're not leaders. There's no such thing as that in a black skin.
So is that a concept, black leader?
That's just a concept.
Okay.
Now, I'm saying that.
Yes, sir.
As following the logic.
Okay. All right.
I mean, but there are people who would disagree with that, and they can.
Okay.
They can say, Fuller, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm a black leader. I'm not subject to anybody. I'm not subject to anybody. I take my orders from nobody. Nobody tells me what to do when it comes to anything. I do what I please. So I want you to know that, because you don't know everything, Fuller.
Okay.
And one thing, you don't know me. You don't know anything about me, and I'm calling in to tell you that I don't take orders from anybody under any circumstance ever, because I'm my own person. I am my own leader, and I'm going to lead the rest of these black people to where they need to be, because I don't have to take orders from anybody. Nobody ever tells me what to do. I'm not dependent on anybody, ever, anywhere. Now, that's what you would call a black leader.
Okay. All righty. Let's go to the phone lines. Line number 1. You're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please. And turn your radio down, please.
It is down. I just have my phone. Can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. First, I have a two-part question quickly. First, I wanted to say I am going to have a meeting of compensatory constructive action in Baltimore from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., 2800 St. Lo Drive, Lake Clifton, under the dome. I will do that first. Compensatory constructive meeting, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., this Saturday, 2800 St. Lo Drive, Baltimore, right across from Lake Clifton High School. I will be there. Anybody wants to come out, I'm there by myself, so we can sit down and we can put the thing together.
Okay.
First.
What's your question?
I wanted to say that it feels like when Mr. Fuller talks, it's always seems like it's putting more pressure on black people. Like when he speaks on the negative aspect of white supremacy and how it impacts certain people, it's always like black people got to do this, black people need to step up, black people need to do that. And I understand that. I'm not hating that part. It's just then he says people of color. So what I want to know is, I don't feel that black people can solve this issue by themselves. I know we can't. I know this has to be, I feel like a righteous people against the unrighteous people, or constructive people against the non-constructive people. And it feels like, black people always have so much piled on their plate to do so much. We got to be better than this person. We got to be twice as better than that person. We got to lead this. We got to do that. And that seems to make me feel weighed down so much, where every time I turn around, it's so much that needs to be done that I feel overwhelmed.
Okay, so what is your question for Mr. Fuller, sir?
Well, I guess it's more of a comment that,
okay,
that's the comment that I think it's more of a universal, as we all try to become universal man and woman, it's not just black people. We all need to be trying to become universal man and woman.
All right.
And that's it.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Bye. I think that would be under VGQ. Mr. Fuller, you care to comment on that?
Victims guaranteed qualification.
Okay.
He's qualified to say the things that he said, and people should think about everything that everybody says, since nobody has done what? Solved the race problem.
Okay. All right. Now, let's go here to, we're on Area 6, politics, and in particular, we're focusing on concept. Mr. Fuller, on page 195 of the revised, expanded edition of the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept, in the middle of the page, you wrote this. I'm going to highlight 2 paragraphs that you have suggested or made mention of. It says, when asked to name or title of the system of government that you have served the most and or have proven your loyalty to, answer by saying, and then you give your suggestions underneath it. And then down at the last part of the page, you said, on being the victim, you said, when asked to make a general comment about another non-white person, say the following. And you went on to mention or suggest what you should say. Could you elaborate on those two paragraphs, please?
Okay, when you're asked about the name or title of the system of government that you have served the most,
yes.
Well, your correct answer would be, according to logic, the name or title of the system of government that I have served the most is the system of white supremacy. And I also have that on the back of the book. I mean, that I have been a servant of just one government the whole time I've been on this planet. I was born into that government. It's called the system of white supremacy. That is the system of government that I have served the most. Now, what do you mean by government? Well, you can say that your mother is a form of a government. I mean, your aunt, if she raised you, or your grandmother and whatnot, right there in that house, she says, okay, don't touch the stove because you'll burn your hand, Willie, Mary. Don't touch the stove. Don't go near the stove. It's hot, you know. So that's the system of government. I mean, that's a governmental action right there. But when you're talking about the government, the most powerful government on the planet, for anybody who has color in his or her skin, it is the system of white supremacy. That is the most powerful government of people. If you have color in your skin, you obey the white supremacists more than you obey anybody, anywhere. And I haven't seen any evidence to the contrary. And certainly I do. So that's the way I would respond to that. And now the other one was on being a victim.
Yes, sir.
When asked to make a general comment about another non-white person, say the following. To the best of my understanding, the person that you ask about is a victim of white supremacy. That's the general comment you make about any non-white person when you're asked about them. If they say that you know the person, or you're familiar with the person, or you have met the person or whatnot, then you just say, to the best of my knowledge, the person is a victim of white supremacy. Why? Because that's the government of the world. If you're a person of color, you come under the system of white supremacy. I've never met or heard of any non-white person that didn't. And when I hear of such a person, I would like to know who that person is, because I want to know the miracle of how they pull that off. Not being subject to white supremacy, and you're on this planet, and you have color in your skin, and the white supremacists don't tell you what to do when it comes to anything that you do not allow you to do it or not allow you to do it. I want to hear about that person, and I want to know for sure how they pull that off. Then I can take my book and throw it in the trash. And everybody should find out who that person is and how that person pulled that off, because that's the solution.
Okay. Let's do this right now. Let me get this page here. Okay, here we go. TalkTainmentRadio.com is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with a host delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and what we're speaking about today, politics. And now here are several that I'd like to share with you. Super Cool, that's with Kahari Inaharo. The John Cates Show with John Cates, and Senior Agenda with Lisa Stockdale. All these shows are exclusive to TalkTainmentRadio.com. All you have to do is click on programs for the scheduled times. TalkTainmentRadio.com, that's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Today's show, we're focusing in on politics, and in particular, concept. We want to get to that. So all you have to do is you can listen, or you can call in 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, MrBobby@gmail.com. And speaking of Gmails, we got a question for you, Mr. Fuller, from Dr. Bragg. He says this: first of all, to you, Mr. Fuller, and you can file this under VGQ, but I think you made my case for why there should be a 10th area of activity surrounding health and nutrition/medicine, and how you broke down the way that white supremacist uses food as poison against us on the May 17th program. Now, my question: you often talk about how we as black people are full of poison, which is why we should only have minimal contact with each other unless for constructive purposes. Right now, many black people have contact with each other through Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and there you have black spokespersons verbally attacking each other while their respective followers chime in, going at each other online with toxic comments, stoking the flames, sowing more seeds of division, which of course leads to more chaos and confusion. And so, since this isn't directly addressed in your book, how should we, as victims of white supremacy, avoid this behavior in cyberspace? What would you suggest as a proper way to deal with this new level of bickering and infighting, which is not in person, but in a new invisible forum where people never meet face to face?
I'm on a phone right now. That's a relatively modern device, even though it's been around for some time. I'm on a contraption called a telephone, and my voice is being amplified, I have been told, all over the world. Okay? Now, this is making contact. I'm making contact with people right now. Now, once I make this contact, I'm supposed to be precision-oriented in saying something that is of constructive value. It's supposed to be of constructive value. Meaning what? Meaning problem solving. Not about making a problem. And there's a saying in the book, in the textbook for victims of racism: solve problems without making any. Now, I don't know if I'm doing that or not, but I am supposed to be working my best to do that by speaking right now. Anytime I speak to another person anywhere on this planet, directly or indirectly, whether I'm speaking to the person physically and right in front of me, or the person is somewhere on the other side of the world, I am supposed to be in the process of doing what? Solving problems without making any. Otherwise, I have no business making contact with anybody at any time. I just have to sit in silence. And if I can't think of something, some type of contact to make with some other person, and the world is full of problems, and I am not making this contact to solve a problem, I am not making use of my time and energy the way that I'm supposed to be doing. That's rock solid code. You only make contact with any person. I also have a cell phone. I only use that cell phone when it's absolutely necessary to make contact with someone, to give them information or to receive information in order to do something presumably of constructive value. Idle talk, just calling up someone just to say, well, I just thought I'd give you a call and do some chit-chat. What's the latest this? What's the latest that? And get into some gossip. Gossip meaning you're saying something about somebody which the code says you should never do. What is gossip? Talking to one person about another person and saying things about that other person that you wouldn't say if that person was right there listening. That's what gossip is. So you don't ever do that, ever under any circumstance. Catch yourself when you find yourself fixing to do it. We all have that tendency. And so we're supposed to put on the brakes right now and say, wait a minute. I'm fixing to say something about a person that I wouldn't say if that person was standing right here listening. So I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say anything about anybody that I wouldn't say to the person themselves. That rules out gossip. So that means that a whole lot of black people's and a whole lot of white people's conversations would disappear. There just wouldn't be any conversation. There'd be a whole lot of silence, which is what we do need. In answer to the question directly, we do need a whole lot of shutting down of saying anything to anybody unless we have something constructive to say, which means something that will help a person solve a problem. Either solve one of your problems or solve one of theirs. At least one problem. Otherwise, there shouldn't be any conversation in any context applying to any area of activity. And there's 9 of them. Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, or war, or a combination of any one of those areas of activity. Anything you say about sex should have a constructive effect. Anything that you say about economics, if you're talking about money or use of time and energy, how you going to use your time today, how you going to use your energy today, it should have a constructive effect.
Mm-hmm.
It should be constructive information.
Yes.
Anything that you're going to do, and if you're planning on having what you call entertainment, you say, let's have a party this weekend. Wait a minute. Is this party going to produce anything constructive? Is it going to have a constructive result? Or are we going to have 9mm all over the living room floor before the party is over? And somebody screaming into the phone, 911. Please come and help us stupid people, because we don't know how to interact with each other. I just want to add this, if you'll allow me. I'm looking at an article right now. The Afro-American newspaper, June the 10th, 2017. Page B2. That's the Afro-American newspaper, Afro-American newspaper, June the 10th, page B2. It says, on the headline, more blacks impacted on National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And there's a statement by Mr. Omar Johnson, and I will read it because I don't like to misquote people. And I like to attribute whatever I'm saying to whomever the source is. And it says, Omar Johnson said this: black people are getting into nonsensical arguments with each other, and things seem to quickly escalate into shootings. It's senseless. I'm going to repeat that. Black people are getting into nonsensical arguments with each other, and things seem to quickly escalate into shootings. It's senseless. And then there's another part of the same article. It says, and this is a statistics, 72% of black victims were killed not by strangers, but by someone they knew. This is from a study that was made. 72% of black victims are killed not by strangers, but by someone they knew. Now, what does this mean? Black people are toxic. That's what it means. We're poisonous. Anytime we make contact with each other, even when we call ourselves doing it in good cheer or in good fun, or just because we don't have anything else to do, there's a reason, some reason, for some mysterious reason, these contacts too often wind up in some type of conflict. So what's the solution? Minimize conflict by minimizing all unnecessary contact. Minimize conflict, and this is in the code book. This is what I have. Minimize conflict. If you want to minimize conflict between black people, you minimize all unnecessary contact. In other words, that contacting each other just to be contacting each other, just because we're bored, or we just want to talk to somebody because we don't have nothing to do, that's dangerous. It doesn't work for black people, because it winds up in some type of argument, and if we are in proximity to each other, it winds up in some type of knife or some type of gunfire. And this goes back as far back as anybody can remember. It's a part of our culture. We even expect it. We look in the newspapers every day. 3 people killed in an argument over in some part of the city about something or another. Nobody even remembers what the argument was about. Some kind of name calling, or some type of gossip, or some type of just starting off, I mean, really high-fiving, and in the old days we called it jiving. Just saying things, just because we can't stand silence. I mean, just saying anything, any kind of old way. Next thing you know, somebody gets mad. Nobody remembers what they got mad about.
Wow. Whoa.
Dead bodies all over the place. And who has to clean it up? The white supremacists. Radios cackling. White men and white women, and maybe some black ones, out there measuring off gun cases and all like that, and drawing circles on the pavement, and drawing circles around somebody's dead body lying in the middle of the street. And a little boy out there, 8 years old, saying, "What was it about?" And nobody can remember. Well, I don't know. They got to talking, and the dude said something about the guy's mama. I mean, you know, and he said something about you don't talk. And the next thing you know, it was pop, 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 pop. And, you know, and everybody running in different directions, turning over the barbecue pit and all like that. They burned the house down. That's black people. Over and over and over and over and over again. And the white supremacists sitting back on the sideline saying, yeah, that's them. That's typical. That's what you get when you got them in the neighborhood. I mean, you know, they don't know how to contact anybody without this kind of mess. They don't know how to even say a few words to somebody without it winding up being this type of mess. That's what they are known for, all over the Northwestern Hemisphere, and trying to get other black people to copy after them all over the rest of the world.
Wow.
That's where we are.
That's where we are.
Truth be told.
That violent contact.
Minimize contact. That's the first order of business. This is really important, unless you have something constructive to say or do. If you can't find anything constructive to say or do, don't make contact. That will go a long ways towards solving our problems.
TalkTimeAtRadio.com. We go where you go. We are discussing the 6th area of people activity, politics, and we've been focusing on, in particular, the word concept. You can call in by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numero 7, MrBobby@gmail.com. This breaking news, Representative Steve Scalise, a congressional staffer, and members of the Congressional Police Force were shot Wednesday morning in Alexandria, Virginia, and where sources are calling an apparent deliberate attack. Scalise, a third-ranking member of the House Republican leadership as the majority whip, appeared to have been shot in the hip, and appeared 2 Capitol Hill police office agents were shot, according to Mo Brooks, who told CNN he was on deck when the shooting occurred. As of 9:45 a.m., Scalise was in stable condition but undergoing surgery, according to a statement from his office. He's grateful, quoting, he's grateful for the brave actions of the U.S. Capitol Police and first responders and colleagues, end of quote. The shooting took place at a practice for the GOP congressional baseball team. In a statement, Texas Representative Roger Williams, one of the team's coaches, said one of his staff members was shot during the incident and receiving medical attention, and there was no information on the staffer's injuries. According to both congressional and law enforcement sources, the shooting appears to be a deliberate attack. All that going on in Washington, all over the place. Wow. Let's go to the phone lines. Okay, caller, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay. I wanted to repeat off what Mr. Fuller just said about minimizing contact, and it leads me to the question when he says that there are three types of people on the planet: white supremacists, these victims, and those people that are white that are not white supremacists. Okay, that gives me the impression that we as non-white people are all equal. But when I look out into the world, I see that for some reason the white supremacists have concentrated on annihilating the black population more. For example, the Chinese are able to keep their culture. The Chinese economy is booming, almost over the white supremacist economy. The Chinese have been able to keep their culture intact. They're able to keep their the mainstreams of their culture from allowing the white supremacists to infiltrate them like they have done us and have us shooting at barbecues, just like Mr. Fuller just said. So my question is it fair to say that I've heard Mr. Fuller say before that right now the Chinese or any other denomination of non-white people, it's not my business to be concentrating on them right now. But for some reason, it seems as if the white supremacists have always been more focused on the black people or the people concentrated from Africa. And it seems to me that that's how it is now. And I just want to see if Mr. Fuller, what's his response to that. Okay,
so be specific. Your question is?
My question is, do the white supremacists regard all of the non-white people as the same, or are they really, really more focused on the black people? Do they fear us more?
Okay.
They feel like we could do more damage if they allow us to rise.
Okay.
They let the Chinese have their own country. They let other denominations have their own, and they are not focused on them like they are us.
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
It's all equal. All victims of racism are equal. Based on what? Based on what the white supremacists want. All they want is white supremacy. What is it that the white supremacists want? They want to have fun, they want glory, and they want material comfort. And they want it by putting the non-white people in a position where they can't have constructive fun, they can't have any glory, meaning, what do you mean by glory? Have self-esteem, a feeling about yourself that you're worth something. I mean, that your black life matters, you might say, that type of thing. And, of course, material comfort. You have things around you that can keep you from being miserable. You have medicine when you get sick. You have clear water to drink, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you have all other kind of comforts and whatnot. Well, that's what they want, too. All creatures want that. But they want it by having a system that denies other people these things and keep them confused and keep them doing things that are non-constructive, like killing each other. And they cause people of color, black, brown, red, yellow, doesn't make any difference whether they're what you call them Chinese or whatever. I mean, they keep them in turmoil for the most part. Now, even among the blackest of people, you might say, out the planet, there are always some that they allow to have these three things to a degree. Some comfort, some fun, whatever they call fun, and other things that might be of constructive value.
Mm-hmm. They determine it.
Yes, they determine. See, and they do it by percentages. It's like any other business. It's all about percentage.
Mm-hmm.
But from the beginning of every day and the end of every day, the white supremacist mind says one thing: are we dominant over these people? Any people of color? Are there any people that we are not dominant over, either directly or indirectly? Are there any of these people who don't have reason to fear us, to fear that we can harm them grievously in the next 15 minutes? And if the answer to that question is no, there are no people of color who do not fear us and fear what we might do in the next 15 minutes. And that is their answer. They are comfortable with that. That is their comfort level. That's their criteria for being. That's their reason for existence, because that's the white supremacist mind. And the answer is yes, they are in charge. Now, they allow a lot of things, just like on a plantation. You can use that as an example. There were some black people who were very, very comfortable on the plantation. Why? They worked in the kitchen, and they ate well because they ate the same type of food that the master ate. They got first access to the food, all right? So they ate better than a lot of white people did. So they had a degree of comfort. But what? They still were slaves. See what I mean? A
yes,
comfortable
sir.
slave is still a slave.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes the master of the house would dress up one of his slaves and say, I don't want a raggedy slave walking around in the house when my guest comes. I don't want a raggedy slave. I'm going to get some of the finest clothes you can get to have my waiter when my waiter comes to the table and puts food on the table for my guests, for my white guests. Now, he's still a slave, but he's going to be dressed in the finest clothes because I'm going to see to it. I don't want my slave looking raggedy. I mean, people to get an idea that I'm, right on the verge of being raggedy. All right? So if my slaves look good that's working here in the house, they know that I'm really rich if I can afford to dress up a slave. All right? All of my white friends. See what I mean?
Yes,
so
sir.
That's always been true.
Yes, sir.
And it's true all over the world today.
Yes, sir. Okay, let's do this. Let's see, question here. It says here, now let me paint this for you real life scenario that just took place in Columbus, Ohio a few days ago at the main library. A young black male bumps into a black female and doesn't say excuse me. Black female's boyfriend confronts the young black male and asks him, can't you say excuse me? Young black male and the boyfriend exchange heated words with each other. Young black male then pulls out a gun and pow, pow, pow. The patrons go into panic mode, fleeing left and right as security rushes to the scene. The library closes. Out comes the yellow tape. Wounded black male is sent across the street to the hospital in fair condition. You usually suggest that black people stay away from each other, Mr. Fuller, unless coming together for a constructive purpose. But what should we do in situations like this where we can't necessarily avoid each other, but may be confronted by someone with either a harsh action or set of words? What's a good way to either keep a situation like this from escalating, especially when dealing with another victim of white supremacy? I thank you for your response.
Well, the minute the harsh words start rising, you put distance. Don't go toward a person. Go away from the person. And if you did anything to offend the person, immediately say, I apologize for anything. Sometimes black people, knowing how we are, some of us will say, I ain't accepting your apology. No, we're going to settle this right now. We're going to settle this. No, apology ain't going to do. Some of us are like that. But you still do your best to try to say, well, what can I do? What can I do to appease you? Ain't nothing you can do. You're going to die right now. See, some of us are like that. I mean, some of us wake up in the morning with that in mind. When we hit the streets, we're going to do somebody in. I've heard in the time I've been on this planet, I've actually heard black people say, I'm going to do somebody in tonight, getting ready to go to that little nickel and dime dance in a small town. And they'll say, I'm going to cut me somebody tonight. I got a brand new razor. I've heard black people actually talk like that. I'm going to get down tonight. I got a brand new razor and a brand new suit. I got a Kuppenheimer suit and a brand new razor. And he's there in his zoot suit. And he's talking about doing harm to somebody he hasn't even met. But that's what you do at a dance because that's what they consider to be part of black culture.
Mm-hmm.
Start a rumble, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, start some kind of fight. It's too quiet in here. I mean, everything is too peaceful. I got to turn over a table at some point because that's what I do at every dance. I grew up around some people, not all, not most, who had that type of mentality.
Yes, sir.
And that's been handed down through generations. That didn't just start. And you got people like that right now. They hear going to be a black gathering somewhere. They're going to make sure that they are there. And they're going to make sure that they do some harm to somebody while they're there.
Mm-hmm.
They are leaving their house with that intention.
Okay. Now,
and we got to reveal that. And say we're not going to tolerate those type of people. In other words, you get no mercy at all.
Right.
Period. You get no mercy at all with that type of mentality.
Yes, sir.
Don't you ever think that ever in life you will have somebody speak in your behalf. It ain't going to happen.
Okay. So what happens to the 3 Fs? Of course, this is when we're confronted with a law or a law enforcement official, but don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee in this library situation.
Oh, if it's a law enforcement official, you definitely don't fuss, don't fight, and don't flee.
But if it's another victim of racism, what do you do then?
And that victim of racism is just starting a problem?
Yes, he confronted the person in the library and then shot the person, or was shot by the person, by the young black male.
That's because somebody confronted the person, right?
Yes, because he allegedly bumped into his girlfriend and just asked the young black male, "Hey man, can't you say excuse me?"
And the person didn't, and then the person shot him.
Exactly.
Oh, well, the person should say excuse me.
But he didn't say excuse me. He shot the guy
before he could say anything.
Well, I don't know what his reason.
Here's what: you take that guy that did the shooting. All right. And say, wait a minute now. For one thing, you never ask for an apology.
Okay.
You never ask for an apology.
Yes.
And it was a bumping.
Yes.
Look at the offense. Now, is that called for a death sentence? Okay, under all circumstances? I don't think so. I think the guy that did the shooting had been in all kinds of circumstances.
Yes.
Probably around some white people.
Could be.
Most of his existence, where he didn't take out that gun and shoot because somebody insulted somebody. Because that's what that's supposed to be.
So he disrespected.
I don't think that was the first time he was insulted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So he selectively said, I'm going to kill somebody that looks like me.
So he disrespected the sister.
No, well, see, but the thing about it is you don't ever ask anybody for respect.
I got that.
All right? So, but I'm saying, you don't take out a gun and kill somebody about a so-called insult.
Yes.
Because once you do that, you are supposed to take that same gun and put it to your head.
I remember you saying that.
Trigger.
Yes.
That's automatic. Now, if you take that much offense to something, you take somebody out of this world willfully, deliberately, and unjustly, because, see, he wasn't defending the lady physically.
No, no.
This was a symbolic thing. In other words, you apologize to me for what you did to her. First of all, you don't ask for an apology. And then the next thing, you know, if someone keeps bumping up against the lady and whatnot, you put distance between you and them.
Okay.
You get away from those type of people.
So let me get this straight.
You call someone.
So would it
meaning even the white supremacists?
So
I mean, you know, who really have authority over all of this situation. And you say now, you know, if he wants to bump up against her or something like that, or agitate her or something like that, because that's who's going to settle it anyway.
Okay.
You know, after I shoot the person, who am I going to answer to?
Okay.
I don't walk away from there whistling and saying, I took care of that. No. Where is the fellow that did the shooting right now? That's the question.
Okay, so would the brother have been better just to let the whole thing go, in your opinion?
That's prisoners of war in a prison. One prisoner takes offense to something else that the prisoner did, that another prisoner did. You got to answer to who? Really? Who do you answer to in that prison? You answer to the prison warden.
Yes, sir, you do.
All right. So that's what you do. You take this up with the warden. If the person, that's why we have 911.
Got it.
I've heard some black people say, I don't call 911 for nothing. Well, you don't call 911 when you've been shot? All right. When your grandmother been shot? Okay. You don't call 911? Now, you may be telling the truth, but you don't call 911 when you have taken 5 bullets in the stomach? You don't call the ambulance?
Good point.
See, it's all public welfare.
Yes, sir.
And we are all prisoners of war. And we don't run the prison, no part of it.
Absolutely.
We are very dependent people. So the person that did that shooting in the library asked this question: where is he now? Who did he have to answer to? See, now, if he could have walked out of that library and say, ain't nobody going to touch me, that's one thing. But I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
If anything, if he left that library and trying to get away from somebody, who is he trying to get away from? See, in other words, when you shoot somebody, you're not supposed to be afraid of nothing.
Stand up. Yeah, stand by your work.
Oh, yeah, stand by your work.
Gotcha.
You're supposed to say, yes, I did it, and anybody that don't like it, come and get me.
Wow.
If you think you can.
If you think you can. TalkTameAtRadio.com. Right. We go where you go, and you can simply download the TalkTameAtRadio.com to your app or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. We have been discussing politics, the 6th area of people activity in the system of racism, white supremacy, and in particular, we've been focusing on concept. You can call in if you want to. The remaining moments, 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. Okay, let's do this. Going to the Gmails. From, let's see here. Okay, from Dr. Steve. He says this, Mr. Fuller, when you look at the rich and powerful people, billionaires and trillionaires, they come in diverse colors and sexes, but they have a big influence on how the world is run in all 9 areas of people activity. They make money off chaos in the world, which is why we constantly have wars over oil and resources. Racism was created based on the royalist system, so we need to figure out how to dismantle a system where the rich have hypnotized people into believing skin color is most important. The rich come in all shades and genders. Mr. Fuller, have you ever thought that we should focus on ways to end the reign of wealth supremacy? And then number 2, in the future, Mr. Fuller and Dr. Welsing could be viewed as pioneers who helped to create the foundation of inspiring the masses of people to live in a codified lifestyle and understand why justice is better than racism. He focused on how and what to do, while she focused on why, on the why. Even though Mr. Fuller says he's not successful in ending the race problem, has he ever thought that the job wasn't meant for him to do alone? We all have a role in ending an oppressive system. You care to comment, Mr. Fuller?
Well, that comes under VGQ.
The last part, yes.
And the last part of it is, if it's in the form of a question, which didn't sound like it was a question, but that's exactly why I wrote the book. I started out writing the book for myself, but I say, now if I can solve a few things for myself, maybe I can make some hints to somebody else, some suggestions to somebody else, and maybe they, in some situations similar to mine, when I started off, maybe they can solve 1 or 2 problems. And that's why everything in the book is selective. I always tell people, pick up the book and turn to any page.
Yes.
And try to find something that applies to you where you can do what? One thing, solve a problem. Whatever your problem happens to be. By doing what? Saying something or doing something. Because all problems are about saying something or doing something, or a combination of both. Saying something and doing something.
Or solve
all problems are solved.
Or solve through the process of questions and answers.
And through the process of questions and answers.
Okay.
Yes.
Now,
and with the objective of always coming out with what? A constructive result.
Okay. Now, he mentioned about a wealth supremacy. Now, I've never heard that term before, so I guess that would be under VGQ. But if it was, and you said we should, think about these things. If there is such a thing as wealth supremacy, what would we do about that, or how would we confront that?
Well, wealth supremacy comes from the white supremacists.
Okay, comes from the white supremacists.
Non-white people.
Okay.
Non-white people, no non-white person on this planet has anything.
Okay.
That the white supremacists didn't authorize them to have.
They let us have it.
Supreme means.
Yes. Okay.
You're not going to have, if you got color in your skin and you have some property, that is really not your property.
They can take it away at any time?
Sir?
They can take it away at any time.
They can take it away. Anybody who can take away what you have anytime they decide to is your master. That's why black people say, I own this business, I own this house, I got my own business, I got my own house.
That's a concept, isn't it?
That's a concept that has not been proven under white supremacists. You don't own anything if you're white, if you're a person of color on this planet. You own nothing. That would be a contradiction to the existence of white supremacy itself. Whomever owns you owns everything that you have, including what you call your family, your spouse, your offspring. That's all owned by whoever has mastery over you. So you don't own anything. If the white supremacists come to you and you're a person of color, and they'll say you own this, that this is your country, that this is your farmland, that this is your, all of these automobiles belong to you and all like that. No, they don't. Why? Because you belong to me.
So the
person of color, you belong to me, which means everything that you have, I have, because you belong to me. And you cannot prove that you don't belong to me, because I can kill you anytime I get ready.
You get ready.
You got nothing for me. You can't kill me anytime you get ready, all right? But I can kill you anytime I get ready, and I don't have to answer to anybody.
Have mercy.
That's proof that I'm your master.
We've been talking about concept today in the system of racism and white supremacy. Wow, outstanding. Mr. Fuller, thank you for answering the questions and for being here. TalkTainMenRadio.com, the world.